Welcome to another episode of AMS Spotlight, where we sit down with some of the top performers in the mortgage industry and break down what's actually working behind the scenes. Today's episode is a special one. We're joined by Ray Carrera, who is just recognized as the #1 broker in Passaic County by the New Jersey Mortgage Bankers Association. This kind of recognition doesn't happen by accident. It's built on consistency, relationships, and knowing how to perform in any market. Today, we're going to get into how Ray built his business, what separates him, and what both new and experienced loan officers can take from his playbook. Ray, welcome to AMS Spotlight.
Thank you, Joe. Thank you for having me.
Tell us a little bit about yourself. How long have you been in the business?
All right. So I've been in the business almost 30 years now. I started back in like 1998, 97. I was originally in the insurance business, life, annuities, what else? All financial products that they offer. And that's how eventually I got introduced into the real estate world. You know, realtors were making good money back then. So we're loan officers, I came to find out. And those are the types of people that I started soliciting. And little by little, I just started getting introduced into the mortgage business that way. So, yeah.
Wow. So you pivoted over to another financial product that just was working better for you and gave you more opportunity.
Yeah. So, with insurance and financial products, they're more of a sell, right? Whereas real estate and mortgages, I found that it was more of a need. It was less of a sell. And I don't consider myself a salesman. Matter of fact, I made a video where I consider myself somebody that gives people options, analyze their situation and give people options, give people choices. So that's easy because, that's what I want to do is I want to help people figure out what it is that they want, as opposed to trying to sell them a product. Not that they don't need, insurance and investments. Of course they do. But like I said, this is, for me, it's a lot more fulfilling.
Absolutely. So you don't become #1 in a county by accident. What do you think got you there? And what does your day-to-day look like when you're operating at a high level?
Well, I guess with me, it's just been being in the community, being in Passaic County for so long at the same thing, right? Year after year after year. And just being involved in so many different things. It's not just about mortgages. It's about when I first started in the mortgage business, I also was involved in community activities, running youth soccer leagues, involved in the Chamber of Commerce, not so much for the purpose of getting business, but because I had a genuine a desire to help improve my community. And I think that helped people build trust with me. And trust is like the most important thing. I think in any business, if you can build trust in people, people are going to come to you. And for many years, they were coming to me with all different kinds of things, except mortgages. And, I think that's something that, looking back now, I think I could have changed up a little bit, where I could have promoted myself a little bit more as a mortgage professional, as opposed to Board of Education commissioner, which, for many years, I was on the Board of Education in the city of Passaic for 10 years. And most of the time people thought that, I worked for the Passaic Board of Ed. So yeah, just being in the community and building trust and building, I was also the president of the Mexican American Chamber of Commerce in Passaic. So I built a lot of trust and rapport with a lot of the business owners, just a genuine desire to help improve conditions in my community.
It sounds like that's something probably most LOs will overlook, especially like I personally came from a banking background where I was working for banks. People would come to me and I thought, oh, I'm great. I have a lot of business. And then when I went broker, I was just like, no, they had the relationship with the bank. So what you're describing is really, it's just not just about sales or just having a ton of leads. It's going out there and people knowing this is what he does.
Yeah, well, no, let's just say in my neighborhood, Passaic County being my neighborhood. Yeah, that is correct. People identify with your brand, right? And it's all about the brand, right? My brand for a long time was not mortgages. My brand was Ray Carrera, right? Here to help you and whatever it is. And that's how people saw me. And then later on in my career, halfway through the middle to the latter part, I started just pushing, I got out of the politics and I just started focusing on the business. And then that came a lot easier, right? Because now you have the trust of the people you're working with and you're doing the right things, right? And you have the right products and you have the right support with the company like AMS and, the AMS team. So now it just makes everything so much.
So that brings me to my next point. You had options. What made you choose AMS Mortgage? And what's something that AMS provides that actually impacts your ability to close more deals?
So, I mean, I wasn't always with AMS. I worked with mortgage banking for quite a few years, but the business changes and the needs of customers change. And I truly believe in the broker world, broker side of the business. I think we're a lot more competitive, not only in pricing, but also in products. And no one does broker better than AMS Mortgage because we have all the products, we have great pricing, we have great leadership, we just have a great team. So why wouldn't you come work with AMS? More importantly, I think out of all the places that I've had business affiliations with, I think AMS is probably the one that respects the individual more as a separate entity, right? Where we're viewed as partners, right? Management is here to help us grow our business, right? We grow our business, we grow as a company. But first and foremost, it's your business. And then that's part of my success, right? That I've been able to promote my brand with AMS. So in conjunction, we're building and we're growing together. And I think that's very important in today's world, right? To know that, hey, you're building your business, right? You may have an affiliation with X banker or X broker, but it's your business, because if you're not out there producing, if you're not out there closing loans, then guess what? You're not going to grow. So it's very important to keep that in mind. This is your business.
Yeah, I agree with that. As somebody who also came to AMS within the past few years, I was with another company, which we won't name here, but their whole promise was, oh, it's your business, it's your brand, it's this and that. But at the end of the day, when it came to pricing, when it came to structure, when it came to changes that they were making, it was their business first. So I do definitely recognize that's something that probably helps you grow and scale, especially when you know what you're doing and you're hungry. So as somebody who's really experienced, what's the biggest mistake you see new LOs making right now? Like if somebody's brand new, what should their first 90 days look like? And what should they ignore and what should they focus on?
Well, so I think something that would help is like they really need to learn the business, right? Learn what products you're offering, right? Learn about your products. Learn how to pre-qualify somebody. Don't depend on somebody else to do it, because it's competitive out there, right? Everybody's pushing a certain product. Everybody's not pushing DSCR. Everybody's pushing a certain rate, but you're not taking your client's needs into account, right? So what is it that you need, Mr. Prospective Buyer? What is it that you're trying to achieve, right? And once you get the information from the borrower or the prospective client, then it's your job to recommend to them what is most suitable for them. You can't do that if you don't know what you're selling, right? You can't do that if you don't know how to pre-qualify somebody, right? If you're just relying on, just going out there and knocking on doors and saying, hey, I do mortgages, but you really don't know what you're doing. I've seen a lot of pre-approvals come my way that should have never been pre-approved. I've gotten loans that are structured badly because the LOs just didn't know what they were doing, right? I've seen realtors say, yeah, this LO just said just to kill the deal and move on. That's not how it works, right? You're here working for borrowers to fill a need. You're not here just to collect a paycheck, right? And I think as a young LO, that's probably what a lot of people chase, right? They're chasing a paycheck. They're not trying to build a business. They're not trying to build a career. They're not building a profession. They're chasing paychecks. And that's not what this business is about.
And I think sometimes it could be on either the manager or the company side where they're just like, hey, listen, we'll train you in everything you know. You just need to bring a deal, make a little bit of money. And it's just like, we'll handle it. But then to your point, you're right. You get a ton of inexperienced loan officers. And I think that's one of the key differences when you're choosing who to work with. I mean, people even watching this video can tell, your stuff, the variety of products, but more important, how to structure it. And I think a lot of people going to get mortgages never understand what's involved. Like, oh my gosh, when you have multiple bank accounts and you have deposits and assets and you have to explain like, hey, this needs to be checked in 50 different ways. And a loan officer doesn't know that. And they're playing, hardball in the last, few weeks of closing. It's a mess. And you lose you lose reputation and you lose future business. So I'm on board with you there. And this might tie directly into it, but for loan officers feeling stuck, what's something like maybe they've been in the business for a while and, they're plateauing, like they don't know how to move forward, or maybe business came easy to them before and now it's just hard for them to get back to where they were.
So I guess that's when you sit down and you do a reassessment of what it is that you're doing and what it is that you really want out of your career, right? Is this the business for me, right? Why am I here? Am I here just collecting a paycheck? Or you know what? I'm here providing a service, right? I'm here helping people achieve the American dream of home ownership, right? And for you to be a part of that, that's something special, right? After 30 years of being in this business, I mean, it's just sometimes it's so, I don't even know how to describe it. The feeling that when people come to you and they tell you, because of you, I was able to get my first home, right? And then when they have multiple homes, right? Because of you, I've been able to provide, my kids with legacy or inheritance or whatever it is that they're looking to create, right? They couldn't have done it without you, or maybe they could have went somewhere else, but you were a part of that, and that's special. So I think if you're having second thoughts, then you gotta sit down and reassess what it is exactly that we do in our business, right? It's not just about closing deals and making money. You got to sit back and reassess the impact that you have, your clients in your community. So I think that would help.
Yeah. And it goes back to what you were saying before, to just, you can't be about chasing paychecks.
Correct.
So on the other side of it, like focusing just on Ray, what do you do outside of work that like helps you stay like sharp? Like has your definition of success changed over time?
So, I'm still involved in my community. We have another chamber of commerce now. I'm involved in that. I've taken a step back where I'm not in the day to day functions of these organizations, but I do like to stay active. And that's pretty much it, just those types of activities and events. I'll still go back to revisit with my former Board of Ed members. And, once you're involved in local politics, becomes like a family, right? You know all the local people and you go to their events. So it's good to see them. But at the same time, guess what? You're in front of their face and they refer you business. So it's good to be out. It's good to be out and just reconnecting with people. So you know what? I enjoy it. I enjoy being out there. I enjoy writing loans. I enjoy talking about mortgages. I enjoy pre-qualifying people. I enjoy solving problems. So I mean, it's more than a career. It's my life, to be honest with you.
So who would you say, and as loan officers, we'd like to say like, oh, everybody's my this, but who would you say your ideal client is? Like, or better yet, what do you specialize in the most?
So, okay. I'm glad you asked that. I was just on the phone before with old client. He has a few houses, right? And he's a nervous wreck. He's just like a nervous wreck. And in our business, there's always, the thing with our business and what makes it probably very stressful sometimes and frustrating is that there's so many moving parts to it, right? Anybody can easily become overwhelmed. But that's where our job as loan officers, right? As seasoned people that know what we're doing and we know the outcome, right? Outcome may be in doubt at times, right? Because of different things that occur. But we know that the deal's going to close, right? If we're able to transmit that to our borrowers, right? And then just give them a sense of ease, a sense of relief, it goes a long way. So going back to my conversation, this guy's been a mess for like 2 weeks. He had a late payment on his mortgage on a house he was selling, was ill-advised. And now, of course, that creates a problem for us, right?
Right.
So now I'm like halfway into his new mortgage application. And it's like, oh my God, right? He's got a late on his mortgage. He's buying another house. So yeah. And then the whole time, I'm like, don't worry about it. It's gonna be okay. It's gonna be okay. We got a time of the essence. He's freaking out. I'm gonna lose all my money. I'm finally got the clear to close today. We're closing it today. And his time of the essence was today. So to hear him just like laugh and thank me, it's good. And, those are the kind of that you like that. It's not fun, it's not fun going through that, but to be able to know that, hey, I made it happen and I stepped up, right? I held his hand, I patted him, and we're going to do three deals this month. I mean, those are great clients, right? Multiple houses, investors, they have the means, they know what they want. Yeah. I mean, I'll also take the guy, with the 30% down payment, full doc, 800 credit score. Don't get me wrong, but it's very rewarding when you take somebody like that and you hold them by the hand and you say, hey, it's going to be okay. So yeah, that
You
was
know,
good.
I'll tell you what, it's those clients though that never forget you and that will always refer you. It may be anxiety for both of you going through it, but like I've had clients like that. I have client right now, but like they aren't going anyplace else because the
Right,
trust is developed, and they'll tell everybody about you. So,
right.
the perfect client will forget about you as soon as the loan's closed, and then get an email from somebody else. Oh, yeah, I'll go
That is
with them.
correct. That is correct. So true. So true.
So to kind of close it up, if you could give if you could give your younger self one piece of advice, what would it be?
I don't really go back and say I should have did this, I should have did that. I think who I am today is because of the decisions that I made, right? I got to where I got because of the decisions that I made. And if I would have made decisions differently, would the outcome would have been differently, right? The one thing that I do know that maybe I should have focused more on the mortgage business early on in my career, as opposed to, just trying to do the politics and the, community outreach and this and that. I spent a lot of years doing that and not 100% focused on my mortgage. I mean, that's where I was making my living. I wasn't making income from anything else because I had a passion for helping people and, helping better my community. So if anything, it would have been that. But then you think about it, you're like, all right, but if you were involved in the community, would you have had the repeat clientele, right? Would you have had the notoriety that you have? So it goes hand in hand, right? Yeah, I would have focused strictly on my business. Not great at soliciting realtors. I just, for some reason, I don't. You know what? I've been fortunate. I haven't had to really. I mean, I do have relationships with some realtors, and they're good relationships. But as far as going out and soliciting, I've never really done that quite well.
I mean, just this is just me speaking from experience, but I'd rather work directly with consumers. And, I've had realtor relationships, I've had a lot of them and then they all just like peter off. So you can't really count on it, but you can count on your customers because they're always going to need the product or they're going to get another product. They're going to have friends or family. And when you do a great job, they keep in mind. So like, I think that guy that you just is clear to close today. That's going to be worth like 10 realtors. Well, Ray, I appreciate you coming on and sharing your story. And again, congratulations on being the number one broker in Passaic County. That's well deserved. And that's huge news. So if you're watching this and you're a loan officer looking to grow, or you just want to be around people performing at this level, reach out, start the conversation. And we will see you on the next episode of AMS Spotlight. Have a good day, everyone.